was a little bit also too much for me. No matter how strong I was still was a girl, was a young girl. That time I was already, time goes, I was already about 20. It was 56. I have a lot of papers I like to show you. And about, papers. This is a little article about me because I wrote the manuscript. So here I have papers. This is my parents, which you saw from the book. But here I have. This is a map of where actually Khotyn is. It's not a good map, but it's a little map. I want to find you. Oh. It's a little messy. I have to show you. This is a ticket that I put it in the manuscript that how I left Russia. This is actually where I lived in Russia. This is that I worked in Russia. It says that I worked in that particular factory, in the fish, in Kamchatka, and not too much survived. I tried to do what I could. This, I'll run back quite a few years back. This, my Aunt Hanka, that I said that she worked as a librarian in here in the States, she wrote a beautiful letter, and all my uncles and aunts, they were writing to the Congress. And this is a letter that in 40-something that maybe I would have an opportunity to come to America, which had never happened. So this is all kinds of paper. Those are girls that I worked on the Kamchatka. Very lovely girls. All kinds of pictures. This is Kamchatka in the summer is very beautiful. It becomes greenery and a little bit warm and a lot of berries. While I am on the book, later on this is my mother and my grandmother. I want to find two young girls. Can't find them in here. Maybe later. There are other girls that I like to speak about them. Anyhow, so being on the working on that in the fish factory, I probably decided it was enough of fish, and I heard that there was a position as a cook in a children's kindergarten. And sure enough, I said I know how to cook too. And I remember I'm a short person, not too tall, and very skinny, so I said, so how am I going to cook in a very big pot farina, and it shouldn't get klotzy. So I stood up, I made a shkarmitz. This is in Yiddish, that in the old days, this is how they used to wrap all kinds of flour, and then you make a hand in here. And so I made myself a big shkarmitz. I poured in the farina in here, and I stood up on a chair, and from here was dripping, and I was stirring. I got myself a very good farina. I was a good cook too. I was a helper, but I was a cook. Over there was working the woman that she was the main cook, was a big thief. She used to make the food so untasty for the children, and she had a lot of pigs, so she could give away the food to her pigs, unfortunately. Anyhow, I worked from the place where I worked and from the place where I lived. I had to walk in very long distances and very deep snows. The snow was, sometimes you could get verblunged with the snow, in the snow, because the snow were, sometimes you put in one foot completely and you can take it out and you go further. This is how you had to change. And the main roads, there were no main roads. The main road was, there was only military place. So the main roads were only big trucks, no cars, trucks with chains. It was tough. was not too pleasant. Anyhow, one of the days I remember I got snowed in, that the snow came so high up to that barrack. I was living in a small little barrack, and the snow came up that I couldn't even open the door. This is how snowy it goes. It's very snowy, but very pleasant cold, not a cold that does not go through your bones. This is more or less, that was Kamchatka. My time finished it, and I made a trip back and forth to Kamchatka, and then I went to really Moskva, Vladivostok. Coming back from Moskva, Vladivostok to the Kamchatka, I went on a train, and I didn't have money, so I was working in there. One way I sneaked in, and another time, and I was working on the train, peeling potatoes and all kinds, and I had a luxury coming back trip or going back. I don't remember one of those because I had to go back and forth. So the second time I was really Moskva, Vladivostok, a luxury, that 10 days, no time, I was back. Coming back from all these adventures, I'm sorry I never got to Japan, which I thought maybe, never got to America, so it was a life experience. Anyhow, I came back to Chernovitz because we had a certain far relative that she was also the only survivor, Anya Tsebuchnik, Anya Sternberg actually, but they called it Tsebuchnik because, I don't know, they like to call themselves Tsebuchnik. Maybe Tsebuchnik was a yichus, I don't know. So Anya, my Aunt Miriam from New York, wrote to Anya, and they actually, my family from New York, they always helped that Anya too. They never forgot her with her mother. So they wrote her a letter that she is searching for me. And that Anya, somehow she found the address through my uncle. I don't know. There was always a secret. Or there were always secrets in this family. They didn't want to tell me they had somewhere a second brother from my father, and they didn't want to, that I should live, somewhere I should live or somewhere I should be. And it was, and you don't have parents, you rely on others. You got to be your own parent. Anyhow, Anya found me, she wrote me a letter to the Kamchatka. And as soon as I heard that Aunt Miriam is looking for me, I ran from the Kamchatka, was no more Kamchatka, went in the train and goodbye. I was working all kinds of works in there. Then I was working like a real good cook. I was working also for a lot of soldiers, a certain part of soldiers. Anyhow, I ran away from there legitimately, no more Kamchatka, and I came to Chernovitz in about 56. In 56, I was living Bamusia back, and I used to get packages already from my aunt, my uncles from America, and the people starting to talk in Chernovitz that a lot of Polish Jews started to talk to go out to Poland from there to Israel. So my mind started to be adventurous towards Israel. I was adventurizing different parts of the world, so I was thinking, how do I leave Chernovitz for good? So my aunts and uncles started to send me packages, and I was not working anymore for Roza, these things, and I got myself a job in Chernovitz. I was working for any kind of factory work, light industry or cooking, or I was a worker. And a lot of Jews in 39 and in the 40s, they were driven from Poland to Siberia, the Polish Jews. So Russia made a pact with Poland at that time, more or less I'm correct in these explanations, that the Polish Jews were allowed to leave Russia, going back to Poland.